So I have a couple of different earset microphones I've been trying for musical theater recently. Back in 2014 to 2016, I was using these Countryman E6 earsets, and they're pretty good. I mean, you have to really learn how to tape them and tape reliefs and so forth so the cables don't pull. And I've never had one of these break from shaping. So, before Tech Week, you're shaping each mic to the actor that will be wearing it. So if a show is double cast, they're going to have double mics because they're shaped uniquely, but they're going to share the same body pack transmitter. These particular microphones are for the Sennheiser body pack, but you can change out the cables on the E6, the Countryman E6, to work with another brand like Shure or even the GTD. Who knows? They might even have a cable for that. But that replaceable cable is kind of the single point of failure. The cables are really high quality and they coil really neatly. Well, this is the Duramax, the 2mm cable, which I would get if you decide to go with Countryman. But this connection point, and let me see if I can pull this apart without, well, I really should get a stand for my phone here. Comes apart with a pop. And this connector and this socket here tend to be right where a mic is often taped behind the actor's ear. So what can happen is that tape pocket can fill up with sweat or collect debris, and then eventually that works into this joint and you have to replace the cable. The microphone capsule itself is pretty small. I don't know if I can get that in focus. Yeah, it's pretty small, but you're probably going to have a windscreen on it, and that's going to make it a little bit bigger, but that's still not too bad. And the Countrymans are available in a lot of different colors. I think this is light beige, but there's also tan and brown, cocoa. There's different colors. The Countryman E6 is rated for up to 130 dB, so it can be pretty close. Well, there's different ones. This is the W6 with the blue band. This is in the mid-range, so it's about 130 dB it can handle. And the mic itself is about 440, and it includes the cable, the windscreen, and the different frequency caps. Now, you do need to have the cap on. You can have any of these caps on, but you can't run the mic without the cap on. And sometimes you might lose a windscreen, and the windscreen actually kind of bites on. It's got a little thing in there, and it has a tendency to pull the cap off if the windscreen comes off. So you want to have some spare windscreens, which are about $10 each. And you want to keep these spare caps, although they have slightly different frequency response, so that could affect your EQ. So you might want to order, if you find yourselves using a specific frequency cap, you'll probably just want to stock more of those. And I don't even know how much those are. They're probably somewhere between $5 and $20. Who knows? The stuff's pretty expensive from Countryman. But back to the cable. This is typically the thing that's always going bad. It could be several during the run of a large musical. And these cables are $70. Okay. So the microphone with a new microphone with a cable and everything is $440, and the cable is $70. And I don't know what the warranty is. It may only be a year. But again, the nice thing is you can shape these to actors for every production in multiple seasons, and I've never had these break. But obviously, don't sue me if yours breaks. And they do need to be shaped. You do need the mic in a sweet spot. Each person's face is different, and the sweet spot is different on them. But due to that cost, that can be pretty prohibitive for community theater. There is an alternative, and that is, now I have tried Microphone Madness. I'll need to try them again, but years ago, it broke after the first show. Like, I just can't, it wasn't that good. So this I found, and I heard a lot of discussion about these on the Facebook Community Theater Resource Group, and I think on Reddit. They used to be called bodymics.com, but now they're changing to Audacious Theater Sound, I think is the name. And there's two different models. There's the BE4 and the DHF3. This one is more expensive, but it's pretty close in size to the Countryman. And they're both Omnis. It also comes with a windscreen, but that windscreen is a little bit more bulbous, I think, than the Countryman. And I really don't like seeing these on actors' faces, and I'm sure the other creative staff don't either, but it depends on how good your actors are about not shoving makeup into the microphone. And I've run productions with them on that were fine, and you can see this one got a bit of makeup, so that's makeup that didn't end up on the mic. And I'm now running a production without the windscreens because the manufacturer said, oh, you don't need to run those with windscreens unless you're outside. Well, they do pick up a little bit more wind noise, so the positioning has to be a little bit further away, which is okay. We're still within about an inch of optimal, but you just have to do a little bit more adjusting. It's a little bit more tedious. But the nice thing is you don't have this giant cotton ball on someone's face during your production. Remember, these microphones tend to be used for smaller theaters where the actors are not that far from the speakers. So you're in what I call a low gain before feedback situation. You cannot have a wig mic that's like a foot away from their mouth, because that mic is going to pick up the room, and if the speakers are nearby, you're going to get feedback. So smaller theaters have to closer mic, unless they can, re-engineer the space and move the speakers further overhead, or not on the side of the stage, overhead and further out. But that is really just not an option. You're going to have probably one optimal position for the speakers in the house that's based on acoustic science. And I think Meyer, the guy from Meyer Sound, wrote a really good book on speaker placement for theater that's worked well for me. So close miking is your option. If it was a larger space with the speakers further away, we could do lavs in wigs or just over the ear, maybe. I don't know. But I haven't done that in a long time. I have not worked in large theaters and had modern digital mixing consoles and wireless mics. They've come down, they've become more affordable, and I think more and more theaters are using them. So the DHF3 from bodymics.com does not have, or neither of these Audacious mics have detachable cables. So this joint is no longer an issue. The downside is when the mic breaks, you have to send the whole mic in, but it's not that bad. It's a $60 flat rate service where they just cross ship you a new mic with cable and everything. Well, that's still cheaper than the replacement Countryman cable. And for the price of one Countryman microphone, you can get 5 of the BE4s or 4 of the DHF3s. So the DHF3 is the smaller mic capsule, which is pretty close in size. Excuse my mess here. To the Countryman. Or you can get the cheaper BE4 Omni, which is bigger. And it's about $22 more. So if I'm doing my math right, yeah. So the DHF3 is 110, BE4 is 88, and they can handle 125 dB, which is pretty close to 130. This is well above the cheaper microphones like GTD's maximum sound pressure handling level. So these are definitely in the range you want to be for closer miking for musical theater performance. The flat rate is also cheaper on the BE4s. It's 50 instead of 60. I have had one of these break, but it wasn't from a shaping issue. It was from a production where the actor was gagged as part of the scene, and we really couldn't, because they have songs and dialogue, and we really couldn't find another solution. So we just made sure we had spares. It wasn't that bad. I think we only broke one mic through the whole run, and it was 17 mics on that production. But so far, and I'm not just talking about the Audacious mics, I'm talking about Countryman's too. The breakage rate, either the cable or the mic, seems to be about 25% for a season. So if you add up all the mics from all the productions that you used throughout a whole season, and I'm just talking about the musicals where the mics were used. You may have plays in your musical in your season. The breakage rate was about 25%. So I always recommend having 25% more in spares. So that would be either for the Countryman, that would be the cables. For the Audacious, that would be mics. Your budget's going to determine which of these you can go with. I think smaller is better from a visibility perspective, and jury's still out on whether or not these windscreens really need to be on there or not. I'm going to see how long I can get away with using them. It might change that breakage rate if we end up getting junk in the mic or whatever. But the price is the problem with these, and getting 5 for the price of 1 or 4 for the price of 1, that's a huge difference for a community theater and your ability to have spares. The turnaround on these can be terrible too. Like I had a mic go in for service. I think it was there a month, and they never even called me. I had to call them and go, "What's going on?" And they're like, "Oh yeah. You want to pay for that?" And with these guys, it was like a week. Like he even shipped me the replacement as soon as I gave him the tracking number for these. I'm not saying your experience will be the same, but that's huge as well. I mean, we were in the middle of a production. I was like, well, I guess I'm out of mic the whole run because Countryman's going to sit on it for a month. And, these guys were on the ball. Let's see, what else do I need to cover here? I think that's pretty much everything. So I'm not going to use the Countryman anymore, or at least I can't where I'm working right now, is we just don't have the money. But I seem to have more problems with them. At least that's my opinion right now. We'll see how well these do for the shaping, reliability. So far, so good. They do tend to be a little bit on the long side, so I would order the smaller ones. I think they come in different lengths, like 4.2 and 3.3 inches. I would probably just get the 3.3 inches. You might need one that's longer, but you probably could just twist more of it over the ear and put this higher up. I think the shorter ones might be a little more expensive, and sometimes they're not available in the smaller size. They might only be available in the bigger or only available in the smaller. or only in certain colors. So you're gonna just have to keep checking the website or calling them. The guy answers the phone, and that's like amazing. You can actually talk to somebody. Well, anyways, that's my comparison review. Sound quality, I think the jury is still out on this. I want to say the Countrymen are a little bit crisper. Obviously, that can be handled with EQ. It might just be my perception that these are cheaper microphones. They must be sounding worse. But everybody I talk to says they sound crisp. They sound fine. Let me know. Try them out. They're not that expensive.